Hello, this is Cuketractor. Cuketractor is an extremely powerful tool. It's a free tool under the MIT license and it's for functional UI testing. It combines Cucumber.js with Protractor, some reporting, some error handling with screenshots, and doesn't require any boilerplate code or setup. It allows you to concentrate on testing different UI functionality and journeys through your application or website. And non-technical product owners can understand what is under test, and developers can create their own scenarios very easily without needing really any extra knowledge. All you need to know is the English language, because Cucumber's written in plain English, and YAML. An example of YAML is on the Cuketractor page here, and CSS selectors. And if you've done any CSS, you'll know how to create CSS selectors. And so here's an example of one. We are getting this HTML element by the value attribute with a value of I'm feeling lucky. So let's get started. If we go to the Medium article, if you Google Medium Cuketractor, there's an article with a nice little setup script. If you haven't got a project already and you just want to have a play with the tool, you can use this just to get started. So what it's going to do is create you a folder called your project name, cd into that, create yourself a package JSON, install Cucumber Protractor, and create like a skeleton project with all the files we need and a configuration, and then it's going to run a sample. So let's paste that into the terminal. I'm using iTerm2 here, which is kind of like the terminal that comes with Mac but with a few extra features. So it's just installing the Node modules right now. It only takes a few seconds. If you're on the latest version of Node, you'll need to install Node from the Node.js website prior to running this script, obviously. Once it's installed all the Node modules inside the Cucumber Protractor module, it'll then install ChromeDriver, which is the default. It's running on Chrome headlessly. All the samples and the scenarios will be running against ChromeDriver. But what you can do is you could set it up to run against, say, BrowserStack or Source Labs or any of these kind of services that allow you to test against different operating systems and devices and different browsers, for example Edge or whatever you need to test for your application. So it's now running our sample. To run the sample, you just need to do npm run ct Cuketractor. There you go. We've got the green light, so it's all passed. If we have a look at the sample that's been created, so I'm going to use Atom today to show you this. So open the project in Atom. So the UI test result is created once you run the actual command, the npm run ct. And your UI test is the files that we've generated from the setup script. So you can see here we've got our sample. This is what we saw in the terminal. So these are our given when then steps, and you're going to want to install for the IDE that you're using, you're going to want to install the language packages for YAML and for Gherkin. So this is Gherkin syntax that you're looking at right here. Just to break this down, you've got a tag at the top which will run all the scenarios in this feature file. If you wish to just run this one file, or you can run just one scenario, and you can name this whatever you like. It's good to keep it unique though. I like to kind of prefix it with the one that's at the top of the page. So right, first up, I'm just going to show you what kind of the best kind of process to go through to kind of run this. If we go to the Google homepage, I'm using Chrome here and the Chrome developer tools to make my life a lot easier. And the 3 steps that I kind of go through are that you create your page objects. An example of the page object is in here. This is our page object. And in its very simplest form, it's just a path. Here we've got a full domain name, but I'm going to refactor that out in a minute. This is just a kind of sample to get you going. And your selectors, which are just CSS selectors. I'm just going to change this to a YAML file, just so that we get the highlighting. There we go. So step 1 is creating your page objects. Step 2 would be getting your selectors that you need for kind of elements that you're interacting with, like buttons, links, form inputs, for example, and any kind of elements that you wish to assert that, say, some text is contained within those elements, and add those selectors to the page objects, and then you can get writing your scenarios, your Gherkin scenarios, your given when thens. So first up, I'm going to change this to an actual path. Now the Google homepage is just at /. So I'm going to save that, and then I'm going to add that to my configuration file. So we're just testing the Google website here. It's just to demonstrate that you can put full URLs inside the path variable inside that YAML file. So that's going to go to google.com now. I'm just going to verify that works by running npm run ct. While that's running, I'm going to click I'm feeling lucky. It's going to take me to the Doodles page, and I'm going to create a new page object for the Doodles page. So I'm just going to save this one as Google Doodles, and then that'll be /doodles, and then I'm going to take out the selector and add a new one. So let's just assert that this exists, this search box here. So I'll just grab this by, oh, it's got an ID there, so let's use the ID. Now, IDs, you need to put the selector inside quotes, because otherwise it'll think it's a comment. So search input, so we could call this search input. Save that, and so I've got my page object, I've got my selector of the thing I want to check is visible on the page, and I'm then going to edit our feature. So rather than expecting the URL to contain this, I mean, I can keep this, but I can also check that then page, then on page, is the Google Doodle page. Now this is a kind of special one. I'll show you on the documentation. If we go to the step definitions that have been provided for you with Cucumber Protractor, so we've got our givens, our whens, and our thens that we can use. Now the then on page changes the page object that we're using and referencing to get our selectors, and also asserts that we're on that page URL. So it kind of does two things. And so now that it's pointing to the Google Doodles.page file, we can do and then visible. So I expect the search input to be visible. So that's the locator that we added to our page object. So let's run that now. Now something's gone wrong there, and you can see there it's looking for Google Doodle.page, and I've called it Google Doodles. So we'll change this to Google Doodles page. Now before I run that, you also notice that there's a screenshot file path in here. If I hold Command and click inside item 2, it will actually open that up for me in preview, which is really handy. We're currently running these tests headlessly, so we can actually disable headless mode, which I'll show you in a second, and that will show you the actual browser spinning up and going to these pages. But we can see there that it has actually gone to the Google Doodles page by us clicking I'm feeling lucky. So now that I've updated that with Google Doodles with an S, we can rerun it. Now you'll notice that I used these snippets then on page. Now to get those installed, you simply just go down in the README, and there are scripts for you to run for all the major IDEs: VS Code, Atom, Sublime, WebStorm, IntelliJ. And if you just run the script that's appropriate to your IDE, that will add them to your IDE for you. And then you don't have to copy and paste these. You can get used to writing these snippets to create your Gherkin scenarios really quickly. So there we have it. If you wish to disable the headless mode, so you actually want to see the tests run in your browser, you can pass disable headless as an environment variable just before the npm run ct. So let's do that for this and show you. You can see now that a Chrome instance has spun up, and you can see it go to the Google homepage. And then to the Doodles page. And if you have multiple scenarios, we can run just one of those, or one feature file, as I mentioned earlier. So for example, we've got 2 scenarios here. So we call this one Google Feeling Lucky 2. I can pass this tag in straight after npm run ct. If you have multiple feature files, which you will as your project builds, then they will be run in parallel by default and the output will look slightly different. And that's it. Thank you for watching.